Hi everyone, welcome back to the Vision podcast. Today I am joined by Miss Kalinda Gray. How are you today?
I'm lovely. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So I
Good.
always ask my guests if they will do a little introduction to themselves.
Sure. My name is Kalinda Gray. I was born and raised in Southern California. I have been acting. I don't know if you count acting in the backyard, reenacting scenes from The Wizard of Oz, but that started at age 5. And I originally actually wanted to be an author and a writer. I loved writing poems when I was younger. But it wasn't until around let's see. I think around seventh or eighth grade that I decided, yeah, I think this is what I want to do. So I mostly started in theater, and it's really only been recently in the last 3 years or so that I've really devoted my attention into more screen acting. So my background is predominantly theater, but now I'm doing a lot more film and short films and series like the ones hopefully the viewers watched, and going from there and seeing where everything takes me. But I've had my hand in a bunch of different things. So I really believe that life is here for us to grasp, everything as much as we possibly can and live it to our fullest. So I have a pretty crazy background, but yeah, as for acting, that's kind of where I started.
Where did the love of performing come from?
I think it started with my parents. My mother she says she would not be caught dead on the screen, and I think she's lying. She's actually quite funny and quite goofy. And my dad, who has passed, was really artistic in the other sense, just he was an amazing painter. I got none of those skills. So they were really good in, especially my dad, introducing me to films and art at an early age. So I was watching things that were probably not appropriate for an 8-year-old, like The Exorcist.
Yes.
They're going through certain things that I definitely should not be seeing. Probably that whole movie. But yeah, he was introducing me to really amazing films at a young age. So that's what originally pulled me in. And I know, I think you have places like this, of course, in London too, like, what's it called? Madame Tussauds, I think it
Yeah,
is.
yes.
We had a similar wax museum. I grew up in Buena Park, California, right next to a theme park called Knott's Berry Farm. And there was a Movie Land Wax Museum there. And at the time, they actually had studio donated costumes and props from some of the old classic movies. And I was fascinated going through there as a kid. And the wax sculptures at that time were actually really well done and not terrible, looking like they were going to melt in the next 5 minutes. So I was complete. And they had like little placards and trivia cards next to each setup for each film that it depicted. So I was seeing, at a young age, there's Mae West coming down the stairs, and there's Gloria Swanson from Sunset Boulevard, or the four from Wizard of Oz, or whatnot. So I was fascinated seeing how realistic that was when I was a little girl, and immediately wanted to kind of, study more about the films that I was seeing right in front of me that seemed like they were almost about to come to life. So that's kind of where it started. And it really wasn't until high school I was doing more plays and whatnot. And I had a fabulous teacher. My God, I mean, anybody, people should know how much of a difference teachers make, because she, in so many ways, really kind of saved me. I had a really rough time in high school with family stuff going on, and if it weren't for theater and that escape, I don't know what I would have done. So that's really where I got started. And she was, as we say out here, a hard ass. So she was very strict. So I got my I feel I'm a very professional actor, and I got my professionalism and my discipline from her. So that's really where it started.
So all those disciplines came from her from high school, would you say
Oh
so?
yeah. Yeah, and there were a lot of actors, Mikey Day, who we see on Saturday Night Live, Milo Ventimiglia. A lot of actors came out of that specific program. She taught there, I think it was for 35 years. I was her last class. Very, very lucky that I got to have her. And she's still around, Mariana Herda. I love you so much. um, so yeah, she's fantastic. And yeah, that's really where she it's funny because I know that professionalism and that discipline that was ingrained in me from an early age has followed me into all kinds of different things. So she's saved a lot of people and then also, yeah, created their careers for them. So I'm very indebted for her for that.
If you remember back, like your first maybe theatre show or your first maybe short film, was there a role that you thought, okay, yes, this is where I'm meant to be?
Yeah, my dad's favorite musical was Fiddler on the Roof, and I saw that at a young age. That was actually, I'm pretty sure that was the first show I did. I was 14 and I played Zeitel, the eldest daughter. And I loved that show so much, or the movie. I loved the movie first. And then to actually be able to do that play in that musical, yeah, that's really what did it. And then it was the following year, I was 15 and I did Dracula in high school. And boy, that one I get even verklempt talking about it. That one was really what sealed the deal because on top of how professional our drama program was, we had amazing artists that would come in and they would build our sets and they would do the costumes for us. They would come in and do our hair. um, that one was really it. And there was another acting instructor there. He passed last year. His name was John Wirtz, and he scared the heck out of me. Uh, he came in and he helped with his husband. They would help with choreographing and directing our musicals. And I remember he came up to me after the performance of Dracula and he said, "Where did you learn to do that thing with your hands?" I played Lucy. It was the original 1930s play that the movie with Bela Lugosi was actually based on. And I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he said, "Where did you learn how to carry your hands?" And then at one point, so I moved very gracefully. And at one point, my hands became claws as I was about to attack. And I said, "I really don't know where I got that. I guess it was just intuition. I don't know. It made me feel like, oh my God, is he going to say something bad? Because this man is he's so strict and he's so scary." And I'll never forget, he looked me up and down and he kind of was thinking and he said, "Wow." And getting that affirmation from him was huge for me. And I was a very, as we all are, very insecure high schooler. So to get that kind of, approval from somebody that I really looked up to. And I could see that he saw something in me that I thought, oh, yeah, I wasn't really taught to do that. I wasn't directed to do that. I just knew how to meld into the character for whatever reason. I love disappearing into things and playing different characters. I get so much joy out of that. And I did so from a young age that, yeah, having that approval from him, I think that, yeah, that sealed the deal. And I went, yeah, this is what I want to do and what I want to stick.
Where did the puppetry come in?
Kind of accidentally. I was a huge Jim Henson nut, as we all are,
Yeah.
um, growing up with all of his movies. I was doing a musical called The Producers at the time. I was playing Ula, and my Leo Bloom, he was the lead in the show. His name's Sean Michael McNamara. This was this was over a decade ago. We were in the middle of the run and he said, "Hey, do you like puppets?" And he was thinking about creating a puppet company. He had a kind of a similar background to me and had a teacher that just completely changed his life and taught him puppetry. I think he went to like puppet camp or something. And I said, I've never done it, but I've always wanted to. And so it was three of us that started. We were the founding members. It was more so him and our other friend started All Puppet Players. And the concept was puppets taking a classical piece and trying to put it on and failing to a certain extent. So our first play and it was very experimental. We didn't know how far it was going to go, how popular it was going to be. We did Hamlet Has No Legs. And it started off very Avenue Q style. So
Yeah.
we had like hand rod puppets, and but the difference was we dressed all completely in black. So we had fencing masks, so you couldn't see us. It was really more so focused on the puppet.
Yeah.
Because we had those masks, Well, we thought it was going to be puppets failing. It turned into puppets miserably failing. So, our first show, we were knocking set pieces over, we were running into the curtain, and then we just started kind of improvising because the audience would laugh and then they would start to, mock us. So, we throw it right back at them. So, it became like a Whose Lines It Anyway meets South Park meets Sesame Street kind of concept. And it blew up and it took off from there. So, we did a couple runs of Hamlet Has No Legs. We did Frankenstein Has No Legs. And then we actually did the regional premiere in Southern California of Avenue Q. So I loved doing that. And I was, in order to continue with it, and I didn't know how I was going to be with auditioning. I actually had a friend at the time that was a Henson puppeteer. He was trained by Jim Henson. He did the Dinosaurs TV show out here in the 90s. He was in later Henson films. He was a full body puppeteer. And he was the one that taught me how to puppeteer. So I'm grateful for him kind of teaching me the ins and outs of that. I don't do it as much, unfortunately, anymore. There's not as much of a call for it. And Sean, our director of all puppet players, about a decade ago or so, he moved his company to Arizona in the States. So he's out there. And yeah, that never was for my first and foremost passion. So if projects have come up, done a couple of puppeteering things for Disney. Then I'll help with that. But yeah, it hasn't really been that much of a lucrative profession out here. So yeah, so that's how I got started with that.
Did you enjoy the improv side of the puppetry?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Did you enjoy the improv side of the puppetry? When like
Yeah,
things went wrong,
I did.
maybe.
Oh yeah, it made every performance different. There was actually a time, and sometimes we would go backstage and we would feed somebody something to say, and it was just a very collaborative process. Um, I dated a guy that was in Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, the musical that did not do so well here in New York. I dated him for like a minute, and he came to see one of our runs of Hamlet Has No Legs. So, of course, we had to improvise at one point, one of the puppets flying off the stage and landing in the pit, which is terribly what happened during a performance of Spider-Man to one of the performers. So we would incorporate things like that. It made it so fun. And we were not expecting that. It became, in a way, kind of like this Rocky Horror type aspect. So yeah, it was really fun. We did not, of course, allow that with Avenue Q because that's more of a,
Yeah.
structured piece. But everything else, yeah. And that's what they continue to do in Arizona. I haven't done any of their shows, but they've done Pup It with puppets. They've done The Princess Bride. Every Christmas they do a Die Hard musical with puppets. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and every show is different, which I love. I love that challenge.
Nice. So, which parts of your theatre performing and your improv maybe that came into your screen acting? What have you taken from the theatre world to bring into your
Mhm.
screen acting?
Good question. When about 14 years ago, I was not making any money and was trying to find a job. And long story short, kind of organically started my own company. It's called Wishing Well Entertainment. And it was suggested by theater friends to do it. And so we've done it's basically events. So we do live events for kids, for families, for red carpet premieres, celebrities, etc. So I was able to take the theatrical aspect and how I was trained in the improv for that. I mean, you're improvising as that character for an hour at minimum, sometimes up to 6 hours a day. So that really came in handy. And doing that, boy, it really works out your brain, especially if people are asking you questions and you think, well, how would the character respond? So that kept my muscle going. And then when I started doing more screen stuff, um, it was interesting, especially with the verticals. I found relatively early that I was able to incorporate a lot of that improv as the character into the script. And I was delighted with the fact that the directors were very collaborative about that. And I would say, hey, can I try it this way or whatnot? And they say, yeah, go ahead. So, not all the time I'm okay to do that, but, and I completely respect that. The script is the script. But Yeah, with a lot of the verticals, especially, I've been able to improvise as the character or throw new things in. So yeah, it's the live performance aspect of with a theatrical piece. You definitely have to you have to stick to the script, and that's the respectful, of course, thing to do. But with doing live events and playing characters, and I have a Disney and Universal Studios background where we were playing the characters there, and so you're meeting and greeting. Doing that really helped that muscle keep going, and it helps you respond quickly. It helps you retain the script more. There's all kinds of things that it has helped to do, and I continue to do it on the side, and I feel it's a great workout every time that I do it.
So let's go on to some verticals, the vertical space. Uh, what drew you to that vertical space, first of all?
It's funny. I'm completely honest. I will be blunt. At first, I was looking at these and I thought, I don't know about my best friend's boyfriend is a werewolf CEO that is now marrying my grandmother. I wasn't too sure. Um, well, I live, if I could turn the camera around right now, you can see the mountains from my living room window. I live right next to where the Eaton fire started here in California in Altadena. And it was that week, January of 2025. I actually auditioned for my first vertical. One of my performers that works with me with Wishing Well with my company said, "Hey, I've got a theatrical background. You do too. You would be really good in these because a lot of these require more so theatrical acting." And I thought, okay, well, I'll apply for one. So I sent in an audition and the fires happened. That day, I was told I had been cast. 3 days later, I was supposed to go to set. I was so, I was, oh, it's still like it, when I talk about it, it still comes up. I was petrified to leave the house because I drove
Mhm.
through when the fires had started and the winds were 60 miles per hour. I mean, it was nothing like I've ever seen. And I've lived here all my life. So I was petrified to leave the house, but I thought, I got to be professional. I got to go to set. So I got in my car. I was crying and gripping the steering wheel, and I got to set. And the experience was so great. It was so professional. That particular production company had moved, they had done a lot of series work for TV. That particular production company, it was for Lifetime. They had moved a lot of their business to Turkey. And this particular group said, "We don't want to move to Turkey, so what else can we do?" And these verticals were just blowing up, so they decided to start helping with verticals. And the director was amazing. He had also done puppetry on a TV show way back in the day. I think it was Land of the Lost. So immediately I got there, and he's like, "Kalinda Gray, the puppeteer," and I'm like, "What? How does he know this?" So he had looked up my stuff, and I was not playing a puppeteer. I was playing the femme fatale. It was submitting to my ex's dad. That was the first one I did. So I was just completely taken aback with how professional it was and what a great time we had. How the shot list was just completely already set up. It was great. So from there, I was like, I'm sold. This is awesome. So then I started just applying, submitting and whatnot. Sometimes I would just be called right from one into the other. So yeah, it really took off. That's when I really started doing it, was January of last year. So yeah, and I loved it. It was a great experience, and it's continued to be great.
So you've done theatre, so you have all the rehearsals, you have so much time really to rehearse and sometimes like workshops that need to be done. With verticals, it's very fast paced. You are
Yes.
going straight into it. You're filming for maybe 6, 10, 12 days. How
Yeah.
do you find that intensity? How did you find that fast pace?
I love it. I am a very fast pace. It's throw me in, coach, deep end of the pool, let me swim. No, I love that. Just, I love being able to dive right into it and get it done. That's how I was taught from an early age, just with school and with my teachers, even going into college and studying theater there. So, yeah, I'm very disciplined when it comes to that. And really, I also studied under a teacher. He wrote for a wide variety of TV shows out here: Golden Girls, Gilmore Girls, Roseanne. He taught me when I was, his name is Stan Zimmerman. He's lovely. He's now a theater director. And he taught me when I was taking classes with him. Hey, I know sitcoms, and sitcoms are very fast. Even in the morning, they are giving you new scripts to do. So you have to retain that dialogue very quickly, and you have to be able to pivot or adjust very quickly. So I had that ingrained in me for a while. So being able to jump into this, I loved it, honestly. And really, you do have to be prepared. You have to go in, you have to know your lines. If you're, and it doesn't matter if you're the lead all the way to a day player, because if you don't, you are going to just hold up the rest of the production. And trust me, I've seen that happen so many times. And yeah, you have to be able to dive in and be comfortable with that going into these.
Has working in the format changed the way you think about pacing, attention, and emotional payoff?
Change the way I feel about it.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people, you really have to, this is why you also have to do your homework. You have to read through that script and know exactly where to punch in those emotional parts. Because it's so fast paced that, you know, you have to have some kind of a background to be able to tap into that quickly, much like theater. Granted, you're of course shooting things out of sequence. Theater is easy in a way, it's easier because you're organically going through those emotions. You are going through the story from beginning to end. You are not doing that with these. So I really feel that you have to be looking into these in order to get that emotional aspect, which is, I feel, as some people look at these over the top or whatnot, no, these are still very human things that people are going through, and they are very relatable. And so you have to be able to tap into the genuine emotional aspect of that. So it makes reading through that script and preparing all the more important.
Yeah. What do you think vertical dramas offer audiences, or like rather than long Netflix series? What do you think verticals offer the audience?
I think there's immediate relatability. Um, it's interesting. I wasn't sure what to expect, and I was wondering, like, what is who are watching these? Like, what is the general audience? And it's been really fascinating to me to see how that has changed over the last year and a half since I started doing them. Um, it seemed at first it seemed to be women ages like 25 and up, but now I'm seeing it's like all over the place. The demographics are a lot of it. I just saw a figure. I think the first quarter of this year, male viewership went up by 30%. So I think a lot of it is there's a lot of fairy tale aspects to it. Like, for example, like Remarried at 50 was one of the ones I did. There's a Cinderella story aspect to it. And I can identify to that. I grew up with not a lot of money and going through, I was mercilessly teased. I went through private school and I was there on a scholarship. And that, boy, just that storyline alone is well known across the vertical format. So there's people identify with what these characters are going through, and it's interesting because it jumps from culture to culture as well, and there's certain aspects that people take very seriously, and I think that vertical actors have to be especially grateful and respectful towards that. So, and I think, it's bite sized. So you can be listening to it. You can play it in the background. It's kind of an escape. We are just inundated with all kinds of media now. So I think, I've heard people that just kind of let their phones play for the entire day and they're listening to these. In a way, they can be audio dramas as well if they're not watching them.
Yeah.
And they're taking care of their kids, or they're, doing chores or whatnot, or they're at work. So yeah, they're an escape and they're fun. There's a lot of them are soap operas, but a lot of them, I think and I especially love the ones that have more of a groundedness to them that people find that they really relate to. Like a lot of women that are older looking for a second, marriage or second chance, or going, oh, I'm too old to find love or whatnot. And that's why I think Remarried at 50 did so particularly well.
You just mentioned Remarried at 50. Did it surprise you the reaction you got for that from the audience?
Yeah, I was shocked. It came out in I think October of November of last year. And it was around December, like a month or so later, that one of my friends texted me and she said, "Did you know that your series is going viral on TikTok?" And I said, "What series?" I had no idea. And she messaged me a screenshot and I went, "Oh, I didn't know." She goes, "Yeah, did you realize it has millions of views?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, I don't even want to look at the comments." And I was really shocked with just how it was people across the world that were commenting. It shocked me. It really did. And then I was working on a vertical a couple months ago where I saw the writer for Remarried at 50. And she had told me, yeah, it's over about approximately 400 million views now. And that blew my mind, blew my mind. And it made me really happy because it was different than, and that's what I was hoping. I was seeing the format. I thought early on, this format is here to stay. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But I want to see where the storytelling aspect of it goes. And it made me happy to see something that was a bit more grounded in some ways. And everyone was so great in it. And they were really genuine people, which I'm a firm believer. If you're a genuine person, that is also going to translate to your acting. And people are going to feel that. We're human beings. So we immediately subconsciously latch onto that. And I think that's a big part of why it did well too, because Caitlin was wonderful. Billy was great. Sean was awesome. So I think that was, yeah, I think that was a big part of it. But yeah, it really surprised me and it delighted me that it did so well.
So, what do you think at the moment verticals are doing correctly?
Where it was going, they are starting to explore different storylines. And I am very happy and excited about that. And I think that that needs a lot more support. Um, what they're doing correctly right now is I see a lot, they're exploring more genres. I found in some platforms, they're looking for more grounded acting, which I prefer and which I love. Um, the experimentation aspect of it, I hope that that continues because we already know the format that works. So let's see what else we can do with that. That's what I'm hoping seeing. And yeah, and I hope that I was just reading last night, a well-known casting director. She's in Vancouver. She was talking about how it's interesting where things are right now here in August of 2026, where it's heading to. And she's seeing a lot more smaller companies come up and they're looking for more trained actors because they're starting like the TV studios are starting to pick this up. Warner Brothers has sets. So yeah, they're looking for, in a way, it's a little interesting because they're looking for more established actors and they are starting to do them. Um, but that also makes me happy because they're looking for, yeah, actors that can do a bunch of different things and that are trained and can get there and they're professional. So I'm hoping that continues.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's an aspect of it, the professionalism of it. Yeah, I hope that continues for sure.
On the opposite side, what do you think they are getting wrong at the moment?
I am not going to knock the people, and I know that a couple people have said this. I think Riley and some other people.
Yeah.
Whatever is entertainment for a person is not my business, and I am not judgmental. Um, I see that it's, and I see this even with my work with my company. When you are, and this is my belief, when you are veering towards quantity over quality, then you start to have issues. And
Yeah.
I think that that is what we are seeing now. Um, and that is what also this casting director was talking about last night. You know, the balance is going to be interesting to see because there has been so much. I know of one company in particular that was filming 100 a month. And that is just they're using a tried and true format and they're just, pushing
Hmm.
stuff out. So, what is better? Is it better for actors to have more work because there's so much of it, or to have quality work? And that's what this casting director was saying is she's seeing, yeah, there's less work out there, but the focus is starting to be more quality made, professional, interesting, creative projects. So is that better. And the pay for us actors has definitely, I've seen the rates have definitely gone down, because I think it's a lot more independent people that are lower budget that are starting with these. But yeah, it's an interesting, it's a balancing thing right now. I think people are trying to see, ooh, what can we do? What limits can we push? Um, I have found that there is a declining, in some ways, respect for actors and creatives for sure. To say that in a more general sense, that there is a feeling of, okay, we're disposable because we're seeing, AI and whatnot take over, which is interesting to me. Is a lot of vertical people, reviewers, critics, etc., have been talking about, we love the human aspect of it. We can connect one-on-one with the actors, and that's what we love about it, because we feel like we're a part of this universe. And we were talking not long ago, I was talking with another interviewer maybe about a month ago about, there's a behind the scenes aspect of it. And, people enjoy knowing more about that actor's life, hopefully not stalking them, but knowing more about, what they do, and getting to be friends with them in a way. And it just creates this wonderful community. And it's interesting, I started to see, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, that now all of a sudden platforms are starting to experiment with AI behind the scenes interviews with actors. And it's like, no, the human brain knows that something is off,
Yeah.
and yeah, we just know that something's not right. It's not clicking, and it's because it's not human. We're animals, so that's an animal instinct. So I'm interested to see where that goes. And I think that the demographics have changed. My theory is that younger people immediately, they recognize, oh, this isn't right, this is AI, and they don't like it.
Hmm.
So I've seen, as an actor, it seems like there's been a lot more young adult ones that have come out recently. I don't know if you or the viewers would agree, but that's what I've been working on recently, and I love it. I'm just like, hey, work is work, and I love doing whatever role. So yeah, it's interesting to see where that's going. But then I'm seeing other things like, oh, the horror genre or sci-fi. Those are starting to come up, and that is very exciting to me. And I so hope that those do well and those find their audiences. I think there was experimentation with that last year. It did not do so well. There were a couple I did last year that I don't even think are on the platform anymore. They took them right off. It was like, okay, that didn't do well, so we're gonna go right back to the rom-com aspect. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm hopeful. I'm cautious, but I'm hopeful. And we're just
Yeah.
at this weird balancing thing right now. Yeah, so I'm just kind of like, all right, don't freak out. Just, hold back, see what happens, write it out. So we'll see where it goes.
When you're a day player on a vertical, or even if you're a lead, you have sometimes limited screen time. Where do you begin with building a character for that limited screen time?
You know, I just did actually. I had limited screen time in the one I just finished last week. I was supporting, but I really didn't have too much to do.
Hmm.
Just with the lines that were written. Now, what I was able to do with that, it's you take the character and you go, okay, what do they want? What are they going through? What are these lines telling you? And for that one, it was, okay, I am just so done with the world. I am just world weary. I'm sarcastic. I'm dry. So that's where the humor is going to come from. So a lot of those, yes, you can take something and you can add colors to it. My Stan Zimmerman, who taught me, always said, use all the crayons in the box. Don't just be blue. Don't just be this. Use all the crayons in the box, because that's how we are as humans, right? So, yeah, you want to take something, you want to make it colorful, and you want to make it memorable. You don't want to be over the top. You are part of the ensemble. You have to stick with that, right?
Yeah.
But what can you do to add to the story, add to that character? And then what makes it even more lovely is if a director, and of course I'm respectful either way. If a director said, if I say, or sometimes I'll just do it. I'll just, add a line at the end of it, and they'll go, "Oh, that was great. Keep that," or whatnot. So that's what I just did on this past one. Um, so yeah, I think you have to look for all of the different things of what makes this character. How can I make this interesting? But you also have to know that you are a piece of the puzzle, and how does that fit with the other
Hmm.
characters? So I think that again, the prep of looking at the script and looking at the lines beforehand and just kind of knowing that is very important to just diving right in and doing that on set.
What interests you about women's stories these days? What interests you, what do you think we should be seeing on screen at the moment with women?
So it's interesting, is especially for verticals, if we're talking about verticals, I would love to see more in between stuff. I was just talking on set last week. I'm I was asking, Sex in the City was so popular. So where are that can still be romance and whatnot. Where are those stories? I would love to see more, women taking the lead and stories like that, because women still identify with that and men do too. I don't see a lot of work for that. I don't see as much work for, and it's starting to change. I'm starting to see more breakdowns for that. There's not as many as I would like to see, obviously, because of where things are going. They're going back and forth with AI versus live action. But it would be so lovely to play, yeah, more like Carrie from Sex and the City, whereas, a lot of them are, it's become trope like evil stepmother and that kind of thing,
Mm.
which again, so fun to do, so happy to do, but it's like when you reach a certain age, that seems to be the majority of the roles. So I would love to see more well-rounded stuff, female, hero in charge kind of thing. She still can get the guy at the end or whatnot. But yeah, more female empowerment stuff. I would just love to see that. I think the Cinderella story is lovely. I'm a huge Disney nut. I grew up on that too, and I love seeing those. But giving even more strength to the women, and I see that the viewers react very positively and favorably to that as well. So yeah, I would love to see for mid-range, like ages 30 and up. I would love to see more work for us, and I think that's really important. And women especially need to see somebody that's like, hey, that could be me or that I identify with. So I'm hopeful that that will continue. And they're actually casting, people that are that age. Yeah, that's what I'm hopeful to see. But again, I'm an actor that this is my work and I'm here to serve a role in a job. So whatever you see me as and you're going to cast me as, I am respectful towards that. And I am going to go full force into that. I'm going to go head first and do that. But yeah, I would like to see that more.
I want to go on to your historian side and your writing side. Where did your interest in historical research come from, especially the Salem Witch Trials?
So I went to Catholic school when I was a kid, and I loved to check out books that were completely inappropriate for me that for whatever reason were in this library at school. So whatever. There was a book about the Salem Witch Trials that I checked out when I was 8 years old. And I found when I read that it was a true story, and oh my gosh, these girls that are my age are acting like this. I thought that's fascinating, huh? So I was totally entranced in that from an early age. And it wasn't until I was 21 that I went to Salem for the first time. And it was weird. It was almost like my brain connected. I knew exactly where to go. It was like it already been there. It was bizarre. And I've been back ever since. I really started studying the trials after that, after when I was there when I was about 21.
Mhm.
And just to see everything come to life there was fascinating for me. But what really was interesting at that time still was how buried a lot of that history was. It was they didn't want to talk about it. They renamed part of Salem another city because they did not want to associate themselves with it. So it was fascinating to me to see something that happened over 300 years ago. People still didn't have answers for a lot of stuff, or there's bodies still buried under the street out there. It's very weird, and I'm sure dime a dozen in the UK. Like that's everywhere. But here it was like, oh, this is really accessible and this is fascinating for me. So I started studying it, and as a theater person, The Crucible, which was based on the Salem Witch Trials, was always my favorite play. So it was, and that play made those people that were characters in the play very human for me. So I started looking up, okay, who was like the real John Proctor and Elizabeth Proctor compared to who they were in the play, and just those the differences and the similarities. It made me actually kind of come to love these people and the legacy that they left, which I think horrifyingly so is even more impactful for us to study to this day, especially in this day and age. And I saw just how many, I mean, the Crucible, not as much here now, but the Crucible is, it's mandatory reading, I think, in 11th grade here in the United States. I don't know how it is out there. So a lot of high schools were reading this. And I thought, how interesting to be able to take this play and these people and my love for history, which was instilled from an early age with my parents, for sure. And kind of teach people about this. So yeah, it was kind of, it took my theater aspect and my love of history. And then just, I'm a solo traveler. I've traveled all around the world myself for several years, and just uncovering that history. And there's been a good chunk of things that I've worked on, even in Salem, which I know some people are like, what is this blonde California girl? Like, why is she interested in this? They're very protective of their history there, which I completely respect. But because out here, there's not a lot of funding, there's not a lot of time, there's a lot of stuff that is just still buried. So I love kind of being in, putting on my fedora as Indiana Jones and just kind of delving into it. It makes me come alive. I love the adventurous aspect of it and helping with that. I'm not trained to do it. I've kind of trained myself. But it's just, yeah, it's become a hobby. And I think it's important to share that with people that don't have that, especially high schoolers. Like, I don't care about that. But if they read a play, and I found if I'm lecturing to them and they identify with those characters, they want to know what happened to those people, and their minds are blown when I tell them about it. And that's where my love of history really started. So, hey, if it can, influence students and younger people or even older people in that sense, and have them, go on to preserve history or do other things, that's great. That's a lovely legacy. So I enjoy doing it. It's weird. It's like okay, well, I'm going to take a break and I'm going to go to Salem now when I'm not doing on-screen work. So yeah, I learn something new every time.
Well, researching you, finding that you like the Salem Witch Trials, I thought, because I'm a big paranormal nut. So
Oh,
paranormal gets me into look into the history of areas or like a house that someone goes into to like for paranormal investigations. That's so Salem Witch Trials, because some shows that I've watched go to Salem and they do those sort of investigations.
I know those very well. Now I have a question for you. How did you get started in the paranormal? As like what got you into that? Was it something in particular?
Just watching a
Watching
TV
it.
show, just watching a TV show, just watching it and thinking, is there something to this? Is there not? But we have our own witch story over here called
Yes.
Pendle Hill Witches.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's where I look at as well. Pendle Hill is a big, and it's not far from me actually. So I'm kind of like, I want to go there one day. But I look at the
Yeah.
history of them.
Yeah, it's so I don't think this is online, or I don't talk about this often, but my dad in some aspects was a paranormal investigator. He was in the UFO field. And when he passed away, his group continued to do research, and they more so they went towards ghosts and hauntings and whatnot, and asked if I wanted to do it. So when I was 16, 17, I started going on paranormal investigations like the ones you watch. So I was a paranormal researcher for a while. For me, the work was boring because, as you know, from TV, they're only going to show you like the stuff that actually it is
Yes.
hours of work. So 7, 8 hours of just listening to tapes over and over again, reviewing stuff, looking at readings that you get. It is tedious work. And most of it, we would come in and we would try to be skeptical, healthy skeptics. So we would come in and we would say, oh, yeah, that light that you saw bounce across the room at 2 in the morning with the video camera that was set up, true story. That was actually a car's headlight that shone through the window and it bounced off the reflective surface of a hanging plant. That's the orb you saw. So things like that. But yeah, I investigated some crazy stuff. I have some insane stories
I bet you do.
um, from my time doing that. I have had a couple things happen to me in Salem for sure. There is the the history is really interesting there, where a lot of stuff I feel has settled, but there's a lot of I my theory is energetic imprints. It's almost like there's so much energy, and that is a scientific fact. The energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Where does it go? So I feel in some ways it gets left behind, and it kind of keeps replaying until it eventually just stops. So I think that is a lot of what Salem is at. But I have a story about Salem. Do you want to hear it?
Go ahead.
Okay. I stupidly decided I would go out. So where the girls lived, when it's called the Ground Zero of the Witch Trials, they lived in a house with the Reverend there, and that's where they started to exhibit all these symptoms. In the dead of winter, nobody around, very, very spooky settings. And the foundation of the house is still there. It's actually, you just walk behind two houses, and it's basically in somebody's backyard. But because it's a historical site, there's easy access. It's free public access to it. You can walk there at any time. So I had the stupid decision with my boyfriend at the time to, on Halloween Eve, 11 p.m., go dead of night, dark. There, I don't think there was even moonlight. I think it was almost a new moon. We went out there to go on Facebook Live and do a little, hi, we're at Ground Zero of the Salem Witch Trials. This is where all the spooky stuff happened, blah, blah, blah. So we go out, and we're in the middle of this foundation. And I was we were filming for about 10 minutes, and I was talking about one of the judges of the witch trials, who was a terrible human being. His descendant is Nathaniel Hawthorne of the Scarlet Letter, and Nathaniel Hawthorne had added a W to his name to separate himself from his awful ancestor. I'm in the middle of talking about this, and all of a sudden I hear the rustling of leaves and something running on the ground. Two things on either side of me, my right and my left. And my boyfriend was all the way at the right side of the foundation. And I heard growling, and it rushed past me. And this is all on film, by the way. I didn't catch because it ran so fast, but you can catch our reaction. You can hear it. And I turned my camera and I said, I get goosebumps every time I tell this story. What was that? And my boyfriend said, was that a dog? And I said, I don't know. And my camera went dead, and his camera went dead. And I went, we gotta go. Let's get out. And as I was walking out, I realized two things. I had seen them. It was white. Both of them were white, and they were quite big and they were quite long. Now, when I was growing up, my dad had rescued she was mostly wolf, part husky. I grew up with a wolf, and I know how wolves look. They're
Yeah.
quite long and lanky, and they had run on either side. But then I realized, if you look up pictures of the it's called the Paris homestead. If you look up pictures of what is there now, you will see a fence that surrounds it, and and then these big pits in the ground where the foundation was. And I realized they ran through the air because I was in the middle of these pits, so whatever it was ran straight, and it's like 5 feet above where these pits are. So it ran straight through the air. And I went, okay, I don't know what that was. And then it was about 2 years later, I was going out there on the plane, and I was reading It's Six Women of Salem. And there was testimony from one of the affected girls that I had not seen before. She testified that she had gone to the house to visit her friends that were afflicted, and as she was walking home, a white wolf followed her. So I don't know if that was a white wolf, if that was an imprint. I have no idea. But all I can say, scientifically looking back at it, was I know nobody had dogs, and we drove around for a while looking, are there dogs? Maybe somebody left their dogs out to go to the bathroom, who knows? But I know that those things ran straight on either side of me and traveled through the air. So that, I mean, yeah. And have I gone back to their sense on my own? Finally, yes. I was too scared to do that again because nothing much scares me. But I think a couple years ago, I finally went back like at night. just to check it out. Nothing happened at that point, but yeah, that is a story I love. I love telling the high schoolers because, of course, they're like, "Do you have any ghost stories?" I'm like, "Yes, I do." So that's one of them. But yeah, you would love it out there. We've had ghost investigations. I'm familiar with probably some of the ones that you've seen. I could tell you which ones were bunk and which ones were not.
You
So
probably could, yes.
yeah.
So you research and do that. How does that feed into your creativity? Research feeding into creativity for you?
I love the aspect of storytelling, especially when it's real people involved or something that is based on a real person. I love reading or studying anything I can get my hands on regarding that. If it's a character, like for example, Elizabeth Proctor from the Crucible, that's based on a real person.
Hmm.
So there's so much in the Crucible that is known about her from real life that does not make it into the play that I was able to infuse when I finally did the play into that, which is awesome. Or I did Evita on stage and studying all the contradictions. Was she evil? Was she like, what was her motivation for Ava Perón? So things like that, I especially love. It allows me to be more creative because I feel like the research and what's gone into that into the person has made me understand them more. So I especially love bringing a realistic aspect to the characters that I'm playing. But then when it's a, completely, like for example, like Sarah in Remarried at 50, what can I glean from my real life experience that feeds into this character?
Hmm.
And that would be just the way that I was brought up, or the way that my relationships have been, or we're seeing what my mom went through at that time. I can bring those real life scenarios in there and just kind of meld that into the character. And I love being able to do that because you you have to get up to a point as a character where you are, as an actor, I should say, where you're a vessel and you can take yourself out and put them there and let that character come in and think of all the things that they would do, they would think, they would say. And there's so much creativity that can come out of that. The more that you put yourself and your ego aside and let that kind of come in, I think the better job you can do, and you serve that humanity aspect of it, because acting is humanity, it's storytelling, we're playing people.
Yeah.
So yeah, especially the research has really helped with creativity, which I especially love.
In your future work, are there any historical figures, historical women that you would
Ooh.
love to create a story about, or maybe even, yeah.
Yeah, there's so many. Boy, I know that there's going to be like five that I think of afterward that I'm like, yes, that one. Um, what was the one I was just, it was interesting when I was a kid. I really wanted there to be more of a historical accurate bio of, for example, like Marie Antoinette. Just all the things that she went through as a girl and as a woman, and what is not touched on in a lot of pop culture or books, even. I think Sofia Coppola tried to do a little bit to show just this naive girl coming in, but then some of the aspects of that and how strong she was, and the things that she did that were completely politically warped and we don't know about, things like that, misunderstood women, and all of the idiosyncrasies or things that happened in their past that would have, you know forced them to act the way they were. In a way, that was kind of Ava Perón. A lot of people, they revere her as a saint, but a lot of people look to her and go, not so much. So it's what made her. You have to look at, especially, and I play a lot of villains in the verticals too. What what caused them to be that way, and how do they think like, oh, they're actually doing the right thing, or they're doing what's right for them, and playing into the empathy and the sympathy aspect of that, I think is interesting, because not all of them are total psychopaths. So how do you find all of the levels of that? Marie Antoinette is one that I would love to tackle. I'm trying to think of, I'm sure that there are other ones that I could think of that, yeah, there's just a lot more to their story that's been buried over time, unfortunately. Yeah.
So, what would you love audiences to understand about the craft and care behind acting and performing?
Um, there is a joy in being able to take something and like the whole reason I went into it was I want to be able to impact I want to be an impact for people in some way. And I, I don't want to sound, I hope this doesn't sound weird or saint-like or whatever. That was not my intention. But I feel it's kind of an act of service in a way because you're entertaining people that are, if they're looking for laughter during, hard times, if they are looking for something that they're going through something and, oh yeah, that is the kind of heartbreak that I'm feeling right now. And so I feel not as alone or learning something. There's all kinds of things. And that's why I think that I find such great passion in really getting into the text and studying that character, researching the story, whatever it might be, to make that the most identifiable and empathetic character that I can that people are going to resonate with. So I put a lot of time and work and passion into that. And I love doing that. And I've been very fortunate, especially in the last like year, to be doing more projects like that. Um, and then the verticals, in a way, most of them seem different, but a lot of those are more of an escape. But I really, really love, especially like a character like Sarah in Remarried at 50, playing something that is grounded, and is very genuine. I don't want to just turn on tears out of the blue or whatnot. No, I want to be able to really live that character and play that character because I hope and pray that the people will respond to that as much as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I put a lot of time and dedication into that, and I thoroughly enjoy doing that. And I hope that I hope that it will create something for the people that are watching it.
What would make the next chapter of your creative journey feel exciting and fulfilling?
I would really love to do. I'm really lucky. I'm dying to do more feature films and more long form stuff, that is grounded, where the characters have a kaleidoscope of different emotions and things and emotionally complex. I love emotionally complex themes, and delving into that for feature films, especially. And then for verticals, I would love that to go the same route too. I would love to see more strong females leading certain things and genres and whatnot. That's what I would love to do. I love playing historical characters, obviously. I love doing that. Anything that is, I think humans, especially, we are so inundated right now. And I don't know how it is in Europe. I think it's better to an extent. You're very like whenever I travel, I love watching the parents and families and teachers. I see so many school kids at the museums and whatnot and teaching and having them have a respect for art and for history and whatnot. And I don't see that as much here. And I would love to be involved with projects that are doing more of that and making an emotional impact and that are creative with stories that haven't been really told. And I think we're at an interesting precipice of going into more of that interesting creativity stuff because we're inundated with so much of the, you know, um, just kind of cookie cutter thing that people have gotten used to, which is great because it's a nice escape for your brain. But yeah, I would love to be able to delve into more creative and emotionally fulfilling work, whatever aspect of that might be.
Mhm. So it's time to find out who you love to watch, who inspires you, and what you love to watch in Who Are Your Visions?
Okay, I'm ready.
First of all, who do you love in TV and movies, actor, actresses, and what movies and TVs do you love to watch?
I just finished for the second time Widow's Bay. I don't know if you've seen it yet. If you're a
Haven't
paranormal
seen
fan,
haven't seen it, but I
okay,
know about it. So
you know about it.
yes.
Now that was interesting for me because a couple of different things. One, I loved watching actors that have played very different characters. Like Matthew Reed, he's amazing. I did not even realize, hello, he actually is not American. I hadn't seen his work before. Shame on me. But
Mhm.
he usually plays, he's very grounded, but he's so funny. And it was so refreshing to see people that were just delving into the characters and were actually as those characters. I'm not watching that person as that character. I'm watching that character. It has been so great to see the character actors especially get their dues. And I kind of consider myself more as a character actor in a way.
Mhm.
Um, Everybody on that show was older. They're all, I think, 40 plus, which is also cool to see. It's like, oh, these trained actors that are starring in something that is getting a huge amount of, attention. I love the character actors that play it grounded, but can play all kinds of different characters. And you go, oh my God, that's not Meryl Streep, that's so and so. And that really sealed the deal for me with Widow's Bay. I loved watching that. I love Gary Oldman. He's one of my absolute
Mhm.
favorites. In fact, I'll turn around right now. I've got a Gary, but there he is. He's right
Yeah.
here. Gary Oldman poster in the back. I got to listen to him talk last summer. And that is somebody that has played all kinds of different
Oh
characters.
yeah.
And sometimes you're like, wait, that was him. That is what I would love to do. And that is somebody that really loves the work and he's passionate about what he's doing. And I love him in Slow Horses, where it's almost like he's kind of playing himself. It's like the end of his career. But he's just so, it's like he rests in the character and he's just so laid back into it that he can just naturally, talk and improvise and do whatever as Jackson. And he's lovely to watch. So he's always been an inspiration. Kate Winslet, Al
Mhm.
Pacino, all of those that you can tell just really, really love. Yeah, they became celebrities, obviously, but they loved the creativity and the delving into the character aspect of it. So those are my inspirations. They always will be. And yeah, I'm like, I see a lot of the actors I've loved getting up there. I'm like, oh, the next 10 years are gonna suck. So live forever, Al Pacino, please.
A music artist that is constantly on replay.
I'm actually wearing a t-shirt right now, so let me read from here. Talking Heads, just I love Depeche Mode. I love any of the 80s like dark wave bands. I've loved them. I was raised with them, so I've loved them since I was a kid. It honestly depends on my mood. I'm a huge soundtrack nut. Um, but I also love, current music. So one day I'll be listening to, Lady Gaga, and then I'll be listening to Enya, or then I'll go to Ozzy Osbourne. I'm all over the place. But I especially love the more poetic, like just the poetic lyrics of Ozzy or Enya or Depeche Mode or whatnot, things that are, really just soulfully written. That's what my soul responds to as well. So yeah, it depends on the mood. I'll be different at 9 in the morning as opposed to 9 at night.
You're the second person to say Enya, and Enya's been like part of my
Really?
life. Yeah, so a lot of like
Oh,
I love Enya because when I like lie down, I calm it calms me down. Her music will calm you down and it'll
she's
get you on.
just Yeah, she's so lovely. And, sometimes I'll have a day where I'm like, yeah, I just want to grow up and be Enya in my castle on an Irish cliff with cats. That's
Yes.
fine. Good for
Yeah.
her. Because you never really see her. She doesn't go out and perform that, she doesn't do that. So
No.
yeah, I love how secretive and mysterious she is. So yeah, she's my gal. I love Enya too.
Yeah. So can you describe your time in the vertical space in one word or a phrase?
Challenging. I love the challenging aspect of it in many ways. Yeah, challenging.
Is there a book or author that you love to read?
I my I've loved studying his life and his history. Arthur Miller, who wrote The Crucible. I just finished Marlene Dietrich's autobiography, and I'm about to start his. I don't know why I haven't read it before. He's a really interesting guy, and was interested in all kinds of different things. Very worldly, very cultured. He had a lot of, but he was human. I mean, he definitely had his negative sides and whatnot. But I love studying his plays because he wrote about the folly of man. Um, so, yeah, I'm about to read about his own follies. which is great. I'm a Marilyn Monroe tribute artist. I also do that. So I really came to love him when I was studying Marilyn, as she was married to him for a couple years.
Yeah.
So he's fascinating. I love all of the, classic authors. Who I'm actually just getting more into Chekhov as well, and just studying, more of the just, yeah, it's interesting how there's they seem older, but how classic and how what's the word I'm trying to think of? Current their work still is. So yeah, I'm trying to be a bit more cultured. So trying to read more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a lot of books that I have to delve into. The next one, so I'm starting that one. And then the next one I got a book. I finally got a hold of it. It's out of print. It's written by Rasputin's daughter, who actually
Oh.
moved to LA, Maria Rasputin, and she wrote a book about her dad and growing up in Russia and the Russian Revolution. She has a That's who it was. That's who it was. Oh my God. That is somebody I want to play in that's who I was talking about. Oh my God, I'm so glad I remembered. Maria Rasputin. Nobody's done a bio on her. Fascinating, fascinating story. That's who I'd want to play. So if anybody can write even a vertical about the crazy life Maria Rasputin had, I would love that. Yeah, she's buried out here in LA in a completely, like, it's not cared for grave. You would never know she's there. You can literally see like the LA skyline from her grave. It's so bizarre. So I'm about to start her autobiography too. So yeah, I kind of go, maybe it's an actor thing. I love autobiographies and just, reading all the faults and the good sides and the bad sides of real people. And I think that helps me in my work too. So yeah.
Who in the theatre world, actor, actress, or a show that you love?
My absolute favorite, it will always be The Crucible for sure. Actor wise, I know again that there's people that I'm going to go, oh shoot, why didn't I talk about them? Um, Let me think. I know that there's going to be people on the tip of my tongue that I'm completely forgetting. Um, I got to see actually the first time she did it, Laurie Metcalf, in All My Sons, and she's a beloved actress here. She's an incredible theater actress. I mean, she is also one that just delves right into that character. You would not go, "Oh, that's Laurie Metcalf." It's that character. I got to see her do that, and she was a dynamo. It was fascinating to watch. Um, I especially love anything historical. I really love one of my favorite authors, and I try to go see any play that comes up, is Martin McDonagh, who does a lot of very dark Irish stuff. And
Mm.
I love dark comedy, so I do love that. The last play that I did was based on the life of Emily du Châtelet, who was also another one there should be a movie about. She was a Renaissance woman. She was an astrophysicist. She was a scientist. She was a philosopher. But what is she known as today? Oh, the lover of Voltaire. But she
Mm.
was a fascinating, brilliant woman who died way too young. She translated Newton's principles into, I believe she was the first French translation of that. And actually, there were certain scientific things that she experimented on and that she was able to invent or to discover that Voltaire got the credit for. So I did a play of hers, and it's by, oh no, I'm going to forget her name, Lauren Gunderson. I think that's it. Lauren Gunderson, fantastic playwright that writes for women, and she takes a lot of well-known stories and she creates a feminine aspect for it. So if there are women watching this, look her up. She is amazing. Like, she'll take like Peter Pan, for example, and she turns Wendy into a more spunky, interesting, independent girl that actually wants to be an astrologer and study the stars. And that's when Peter, starts coming in and talking to her about that. So anything that takes like a twist on a story like that is fascinating to me. I love that. I would love to do more of her plays, but Emily du Châtelet was crazy because even during intermission, I stayed on stage. So I was on stage for an entire 2.5 hours playing, and that was challenging too. So yeah, plays like that where you are able to study, they're of course based in fiction, but they're based on a real character or a real person. They're fascinating to me. Sorry, that was long, but yeah, I could go
No,
on
it's
and on
fine.
about plays and musicals for sure.
So we're up to our final segment, which is this or that.
Okay.
I'm going to give you two options, and you have to pick which best describes you.
Cool. I'm down.
Okay. iPhone or Samsung?
iPhone.
Road trip or direct flight?
Ooh, road trip. That's what I do. Yeah, road trip. I got to have a car, even if I'm in Ireland on a one-way road. I'm like, yeah, but I got to go see that spot. And so I'm going to go off the beaten path and find that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you never know what you can find when you do that.
Comedy or drama?
Depending on if it's good. If I had to pick, I would probably, I'd say drama. Yeah.
Playlists or podcasts?
Playlist. I'm such a music nut. So yeah, starting with Enya and then ending with Ozzy and then everything in between.
Yeah. Acting on screen or acting for the stage?
Mm. I really love both, but there's such a magic to theater. And I really do truly miss it. I haven't done it in 2.5 years and I miss it. So yeah,
Mhm.
if I could make a living doing that and be comfortable, absolutely, yeah, theater, hands down.
Sunset or sunrise?
Sunset. And I'm a night owl. I would love to see more sunrises, but yeah, so I'd have to by default pick sunset.
Alone time or time with friends and family?
Family is so important. So just on that, I would have to say friends and family. I'm an extroverted introvert. Is that how you say it? Yeah, sure. But yeah, so I love doing things on my own. I love traveling solo, but family is incredibly important. So yeah, friends and family for sure.
Deep character research or spontaneous instinct?
I think I answered that. The first one, yeah, deep character research. I love, but I love spontaneous stuff. But when it comes down to it, you get so much more out of the research. I feel.
Witches or vampires?
Oh yeah, witches. These are too easy. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, vampires because I'm very, very pale, but no, witches. Yeah, witches are more. They're more interesting. I did meet some people that claimed to be vampires though in New Orleans once and still do. So, yeah, that's also interesting. I would love to know more about that, but yeah, for default witches for sure.
And that's it.
That's it. Oh my god, that was so fast.
Quick fire, quick
Cool.
fire.
Yeah, I love quick fire.
um,
Spontaneous, yes.
Kalinda, that was brilliant.
Thank
I enjoyed
you.
that so much.
Oh, I'm glad. I did too. Thank you so much. I want to know more about you, so that'll be on my next. I got to start a podcast doing these.
I'm glad that you said yes, and I'm glad that you enjoyed the questions. And thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.